Today, sadly, the first thing I have to cover on the show is going to be the recent tragedy in Connecticut with the school shooting. I don't really like to go into these subjects. They become electrically and politically charged. There's a lot of people who are hurt by them, but I think this is important, and it's why I'm going to do it today. And I'm actually recording this part for a video for YouTube so that you guys can share it, because I think this is something that a lot of people need to hear, especially parents, because I'm going to do some things today that maybe will make some people angry or unhappy, but they need to be said, and they need to be heard, and they need to be understood. And I'm not going to go and start talking about gun rights and gun ownership, even though that's important to me. I won't stoop to the level that some politicians are salivating at already on the other side of that issue. I want to talk about keeping people alive. I want to talk to you about the truth. And I want to talk to you about the lies that you've been told over the weekend. And they're not any kind of like out there lies. They're just lies that good-meaning, well-meaning people are telling because they don't know any better, or they're trying to find some solace, something good in their heart. And the first thing is, there is no good. There is no good from this. Nothing good comes from this. This was the actions of a sick, twisted individual who acted with pain and rage. And you're not going to understand it. And we're not going to understand why. And sadly, we can do things to help save lives in the future, but we will not prevent things like this from occurring in the future. Things like this will happen again. Some of them maybe will get lucky and will stop and will prevent. Some of them people may take heroic actions and save lives in. That did not happen here. Everybody's wanting there to be heroes in this scenario. Let's start with the principal. The principal did a great thing by notifying people with the loudspeaker system that there was a threat, so that teachers can be responding to it however they were trained. We'll get to that in a minute, because that's a big problem too. So that was great. They have made this principal out to be a hero because she ran down the hallway directly confronting the gunman and was murdered. I'm sorry, that was not heroic. That was a mistake. It did nothing to save a single life. It never had a chance to save a single life. The intention was heroic. The woman is honorable. She behaved in an incredibly brave way, but it was a huge error in judgment. If you are going to try to stop somebody from killing people who is armed with a gun, let alone multiple guns, and has already demonstrated, I'll kill people, I'll shoot people, because they're there to do just that, and you do so on a direct frontal approach from a distance, there is only one result that can and did occur. The person with the gun will shoot you and kill you, and you will not make a bit of difference. If we're not honest about that, then there's no potential for someone in the future to make a difference. So we need to be honest about that. That wasn't a heroic act. It was a heroic intent, and it failed. And I know that must really upset some people, especially people that love this woman. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, and I honor her and I respect her. But it did not save a single life. It did nothing to change the outcome. It just resulted in one more person dying. Maybe there was a way that she could have disabled this person, or slowed him down, or prevented him from getting into another classroom. I don't know. I'm not there. I cannot judge that. But I know if you're in a hallway and you make a direct approach to someone with a gun and they mean to kill you, you will not get to them before they kill you. That's just not how it works. Life is not like the movies. The next thing, and this is every parent in America with school-age children, every grandparent who has children who have school-age children, every person who will ever have a child and send them off to school needs to hear what I'm about to tell you right now. The other big lie that's come out of this, and it hurt, I mean, before I even say this, I got to tell you, man, just like all of you, this hurts. The fact that we could lose such young children to something like this hurts me. And it hurts every single person in America that has a rational mind that would never do such a horrible thing. But you got to push past the pain. You got to look at reality. What I was astonished by, shocked by, and angered by in this quest to find a hero was a constant restatement that the children that weren't shot at, that were in other classrooms, that the teachers kept them safe. I know this is going to be hard to hear, but they did not keep them safe. What they did was not heroic. They did what they were told to do, and it was a pretty dumb thing to do. And it's probably the plan, if you're a parent, that your school has if there's an active shooting in your school. The plan to keep them safe was to close the door and lock it. Not going to fault that. Shut off the lights, draw the shades if they're there. Not going to fault it. And then put them up against a wall or into a corner and tell them to be quiet and wait for help to come. And over, we were told about teachers who did just that, and grateful parents and grateful news people and other observers that said, and kept them safe. They were not kept safe. They got lucky. This guy had enough ammo to kill everybody in that school. Putting children up against the wall and telling them to be quiet doesn't keep them safe when a madman wants to kill them. If we look at atrocities like were committed by the Nazis in Germany when they decided that a group of people needed to die in a building, be it a school or any other building, they went inside and had them do what? Line up against the wall, be compliant, and be quiet until they were shot. If this guy had gone to another classroom, found a locked door and simply shot the lock open the way he did the lock that he originally breached to get into the school in the first place, opened the door and walked in and saw all of the children gathered up into a small area, what more could a murderous person ask for? Compliant in one spot. So what should they have done? It all depends on the situation. It all depends on the children. It all depends on the threat. It all depends. But here, where most of these kids are on the first floor, there's a thing called a window. Get out. Run away. Get away from the threat. For God's sakes, that is the only thing you can do. Let me put this in another frame of reference. If the fact that people have been executed by being lined up in a small area against the wall and told to be silent and compliant didn't do it for you. If you were a teacher and you had practiced over and over again fire drills, and the fire alarm went off, and you were going to line the children up and get them out of the school the way that you had been taught to, and no one had ever said anything to you about a window, and you went to do that, and you opened the door, and the hallway was engulfed with flames, there is no way you're taking them out the way you're supposed to. Would you shut the door, lock it, draw the shades, turn off the light, and have the children stand in a corner and wait for the firemen to come? As tragic as these events are, the majority of children, thankfully, in every event we've ever had like this, have survived. It's always been a minority of the total that have been killed. So which is more likely to kill you in this scenario, a raging fire or a madman or two with a gun? And the answer is a fire. Yet we know intrinsically when there's a fire that we need to remove ourselves from the threat. I heard about another teacher. I'm not putting the teachers down. The teachers did what they were told to do, for God's sakes. But they were in the gym. They shut the lights off and they put them all up against the wall. And they said it over and over, and it made my brain want to come out of my eyes. Kept them safe. Being quiet, hunkering down in a place with no cover, nothing that will stop a bullet, something that just hides you while a madman's walking around, does not keep you safe. We need to have evacuation plans, not shelter-in-place plans for our children if a situation like this occurs. Getting out is the safest course. It only makes sense. And why I need to be the one saying this instead of your elected officials and your law enforcement officials is absolutely beyond me. I can only speak for myself. My son is now of an age where he's not in school anymore. And I'm just grateful nothing like this ever happened. But if he was there today, I would tell him, son, If this happens, I don't care what they tell you. If you can get out and run away. That's what I would tell my children. It's up to you. You know, what you'll tell yours. There's a couple things, though. That's one. We need to be teaching people that if there's an active shooter scenario in a confined area and you can get out, get out. If there's no way out, we need to teach people as young as is feasible, and in this case it's probably not, but at least the staff, how to engage the threat properly. That should be a last recourse because you are unarmed in these situations. At least most people are. And you're probably not going to win. But if you have no other choice, we need to be honest about the fact that you could be in a situation where there is no other choice, and there are smarter ways to try to take down an armed attacker than walking down a hallway. That's the next one. And here's the most important one we need to teach, and we need to drill into the minds of not just school children, but Americans everywhere, because this could happen in a shopping mall, this could happen at a train station. You know, as much security as they have at an airport, this could happen to us on the outside of security. And anywhere there's a large group of people, something like this could happen. Sick, twisted people pick places like schools because they know no one's armed there. They know they have free run of the place, and they know they're in a compliant area where people are herded into places. The reason turning the lights off doesn't work in a classroom, folks, everybody in America is aware of the fact that our schools are overcrowded, and that if school's in session, there's probably a classroom full of students in every single room in the school. You're not going to fool them with that. But this could happen anywhere. So the last piece to this is we need to teach people to think this way. If you end up in that scenario, the natural thing to think is, oh my God, I'm going to die. Or, oh my God, my children are going to die. Or, oh my God, my friends are going to die. Or, oh my God, all of these people are going to die. And that leads to a point where you don't think, and whatever you've been told, whether it makes sense or not, you just do it or you freeze. That's how you get killed. That's how people die in these situations. We need to train people that the first thing you think is, I'm going to survive. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to try to take some people with me when I do. I'm going to try to get other people out of this, because it will turn the mind on. You'll ask the question that's most important next. Even little children can be taught this. You certainly have to be careful about how. But if you say that to yourself immediately, the next thing you start saying is how. What do I do? What are my tools? What are my resources? How do I get out of here? If there's no way out, how do I protect myself? How do I defend myself? How do I defend others? That's the truth. And there's nothing we can do to make sure it never happens again. And unlike a lot of things that happen, there's no grandstanding for your politicians to stand up and talk about bringing somebody to justice, because the coward that did it is dead because he took his own life. And I said those people got lucky. Let me tell you exactly how, so you understand what you're dealing with here. That young man, twisted, in pain, whatever hate or rage or pain did this to him, I can't know, you can't know, and we'll probably never understand it. Took his mother's life, went to that school. He wanted to kill himself from the beginning. That was always the plan. And he killed enough to sate his bloodlust enough and back himself into a corner enough, because he was too much of a coward to just blow his own brains out. He got to a point where he was ready to do it. And he did. The police didn't save anybody. He didn't kill himself because he knew the cops were out there. The principal didn't save anybody. He didn't stop killing because she told him to. He killed plenty of people after he killed her, from what we understand of the facts on the ground at this point. He killed 2 classrooms of little children and then looked at it and said, now I'm ready. And if he would have continued forward with his plan and needed more, he would have killed more people. Putting these children in a corner and telling them to be quiet wouldn't have saved a single life. It really wouldn't have. I'm sorry if anything I've said upsets anybody, but it's the truth. And parents, you need to be asking your schools what the plan is. And if the plan does not include evacuation, You need to be asking the question of why. Please share this with other people that you know. And if you hear anything that I've said today taken out of context, all I ask is you refer them back to this original piece and let the person hear for themselves everything that I've had to say. Because I'm absolutely, positively sure that somebody somewhere will take one piece of this and put it together with another piece of this and say I said something or meant something I didn't. All I want is America to be able to protect itself and our children. And we can't protect them if we put them in a corner and tell them to be compliant when somebody means to kill them.